So maybe you're thinking about getting a boa, or maybe you just got a boa, your first boa, and you're excited and you're bringing it home, or maybe you just got it delivered today and you're like, wow, what do I do now? Tap in. So maybe you just got your boa and now you're wondering, okay, what's next? Like, what do I do? I would say that the first thing you want to do really is kind of check for mites, make sure that they don't have any mites. Because the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to have an infestation, and you have like your substrate. Once you put your substrate in, it'd be really hard. It makes it a lot harder to remedy the situation. I personally never had the issue with mites, but that's just from my research, talking to people that have had that issue, and it seems like a nightmare. So it's one of those things like, if you do have that situation, it's better to, I guess, like maybe start off with paper towels. But like I said, it's very simple to check for mites. You can just look at them. Obviously, if you have a white snake like this or a yellow looking snake like this, it's way easier to see black dots, right? But sometimes you may have something like a normal, right? Where it might be a little bit harder. And so the best thing to really do is you just take a paper towel and just, a paper towel, put some water on it, and just gently kind of, just slide that wet paper towel across their body. And if there's any mites or any parasites, you'll definitely see it on that white paper towel. So cool little trick. Let's say you have no mites and everything's fine, and now you want to put, your boa into its new enclosure. So now that it's in its enclosure, some things that you'll probably see your boa doing, it's probably just at this stage, it's just acclimating itself. And so you're probably going to see it like maybe climbing up. And if you have like little vines, that's one thing I noticed the first day I brought my boa. This actually was my first boa, actually, my collection. When I brought Kiki home, she was way smaller than this, but the first thing she did was she was kind of out more. She wasn't in her hide at all. Like, I would say the first week, I didn't really see her in her hide. She was out most of the time, like in her vine or on top of her hide. But as she got older and more comfortable, I would say the next like week or so, she was definitely in her hide. In fact, she loves her hot side. That's typically where she's always at. Now, typically what I see her doing, or actually all my boas is, except for my Brazilian, my boa imperators, they always stick their head out. So during the day, like the whole day, their heads are just kind of be out of their hide, sticking out their hide. So now that you got your boa home, right, you just put it in its enclosure. You now want to give them 2 weeks, right? So 2 weeks is the traditional, amount of time you want to like not handle them at all. And, I say that sparingly because there are times before where I felt that like, my snake was, it's like at least let them eat once for you. If they eat once for you, then I feel like maybe you can kind of push that rule a little bit if you want to. Just be cautious of your snake's stress level. You don't want to overstress them because that can lead to them wanting to bite you, or just like causing a bad experience, and you don't want that. You want each experience whenever you're handling them to be good. Otherwise, it's gonna make them it's gonna further the taming process for you. It's gonna make it a little bit harder. And so to make the taming process a little bit easy, each handling session you have, try your best to make it positive. And that kind of leads me to my next point. After they've eaten for you like once or twice, like I said, twice is the typical standard, but if you're feeling a little bit risky, I guess I go for one. Boas are great eaters, so you shouldn't really have a lot of issues with them eating for you. If you do, it's probably if you're not heating up your frozen thawed rodent properly, that could be the issue, or if the husbandry is off. So just make sure the husbandry is on point throughout 2 weeks, especially while they're getting acclimated. So you don't want a situation like where your husbandry is off and then you're trying to handle your animal or your snake, because if, they can easily be irritated. And if they're irritated, that can be a bad experience for both of you, right? So the name of the game really, honestly, when you first get your boa is really to just, make life as stress-free as possible for both of you, right? So this may be your first snake ever, it may be your first boa. And so you may be a little bit nervous, your snake has never probably been handled before. And so it's also nervous. So you just have to make it as stress-free as possible for yourself and for your snake. One thing I noticed with snakes too, especially, is that they definitely vibe off your energy. So if you're all nervous and shaky, they're gonna feel that, literally, like the vibrations, right? They feel all that. Wow, so beautiful. I love her. Her colors are so awesome. And that's another thing too that's really cool. So you just got your boa, and if it's a baby, they're gonna change. They're gonna look different. Like, this is not what Kiki looked like, when I first got her. She kind of looked like this, but the orange got a lot brighter, and she had this really cool, like, pink coraline kind of like markings on her side, which I don't know if you can see it that well on the shot, but as she gets older, I keep seeing it's darker and darker. She's becoming more yellow, and that orange is getting brighter. So it's really fascinating to see. So that's another really cool thing about your boa that you're gonna kind of experience, and you should be excited. Boas are really cool animals, after you've waited the 2-week period, and now you're trying to handle them and tame them. The taming process, it's really fun because you don't really know you don't know what you're gonna have, right? Like, you could be at the pet store, or you could be at a breeder, and you could handle it, or a breeder could tell you, hey, yeah, it's super docile, and then he gets home, right, and it's just a little stressed out. It may hiss, and so that is something you may have to deal with. It may even strike at you. But I would say just hang in there, be patient with them, and I promise you it's super rewarding. It's extremely rewarding. These animals are like really cool, and it's awesome that you're getting one, or it's awesome that you got one, right? I do just want to make one more point. I kind of forgot earlier, but one of the reasons why I say like you want to be careful about overstressing them is because like these guys are great eaters, and so you should never really have eating problems with them. But if you overstress them, they might not eat for you, and then that could be, especially when they're babies, that might not be the best situation. So, you just really want to make their life super stress-free. All right, so another tip I can kind of give you, as a first-time boa owner, is to definitely purchase, I would say purchase an infrared temperature gun. In all my videos, I always kind of tell people that it's really important. That'll help you with your feeding, that'll help you, just to double check your temperatures, right? Also, make sure you get a digital hygrometer. So that's like your device that reads your humidity and your temperature. And if you can, find one that has like probes. Like most of mine, 3 of my enclosures have probes in them. And so that gives you like the most accurate reading. If you can't, that's fine. Just get a digital one. I think digital ones just read a lot more accurately. The other ones just don't. I feel like if you get the old school dial ones, like those things break like so easy, and they're just like off. Like, real talk, like the one I had for Kiki here for like a month or so, that one was like 10% off. I ended up putting a digital one in there, and that one in, just to kind of see the difference, and it was like a 10-11% like difference. So I kind of talked about this a second ago. All right, so it's like your new boa, you're excited. Just make sure you don't have any bad experiences. Each handle session, you want it to be positive. You want to end it on a positive note. And what I mean by that is like, for an example, say, you pull your snake out and it's hissing at you, and you get scared and you immediately put it back in its enclosure. What you're doing is you're essentially rewarding that behavior. So now that snake thinks, oh man, when I want to get put down, all I gotta do is hiss and sound scary, and I'm gonna get put down, I'm gonna get what I want. And so, in those situations, you just gotta hold them. And I know that can be scary, but that's why I always recommend people to get babies at first, because you just kind of grow with them, versus you have a large snake that you've never experienced before. That could be like really intimidating. So, yeah, I just highly recommend that. So another thing too is like, how do you pick up your snake, right? So that was one thing I definitely was like nervous about, especially because boas, you know, this was the first time I was ever working with boas when I first got her. And what I realized was the scoop method is literally the best method. And so when I say like the scoop method, I mean like literally, even if their head is facing you, you can literally just put your hand behind them and just in an easy, gentle motion, scoop them up. That's what I do for all my snakes, you know, not just my boas, but I just, you know, scoop them up. And you have to be like, how do you say, like confident. Yeah, so confidently scoop them up, that's it, you know, and they'll come out. If you're acting all scared and, you know, you're jerking your hand in and out, you might get bit because you're now stressing them out. And so, you know, just save yourself and your snake the drama and just honestly, just the scoop, pick them up confidently, scoop and swoop, called the scoop and swoop method. A lot of other people will a lot of people will do, I've seen videos where people will do like they'll do like the one where they just put their hand like that. I don't recommend that because, man, maybe with the ball python, but I just would not do that with a boa. You do that to the wrong boa, it's gonna tear your hand up. You know, you putting your hand like that, you know, I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, some people do that with babies. I just think it's a bad idea. And like I was saying before, and the idea of you always want to have positive experiences, you starting your handling experience by scaring the crap out of your snake, I don't think is the best way. That's just me personally. I'm not judging you if that's the method that you choose to do. That's your choice. But hands down, the scoop method, I don't know, that works for me. None of my snakes have ever bitten me or even tried to. A couple times my other boa, Bowie, he sometimes can hiss a little bit. And so if he gets like that hissy, I still scoop it, I scoop him up, you know, and that's another thing too. So the hissing, I would say 90% of the time is a front. So they'll hiss, but they're not gonna bite, I would say, most of the time. Especially, you know, make sure you don't smell like rat or mouse. Like, don't ever try to handle a boa, especially an adult, in the room smells like, say if you're feeding another animal, whatever, you know, I would air that room out, you know, wait a little bit before you try to bring them out, because boas are just, you know, they're very food, how do you say, a lot of people say food aggressive, but all, you know, what I think people mean by that is just that they love to eat. They love to eat. So if they smell rat or mouse, like, it triggers them. And so it's a different, you know, they're in hunt mode at that point. And when they're in that mode, you know, it's a little bit different of a situation. So I always recommend keeping hand sanitizer on deck. You know, and if you ever do get bit or nipped, it's okay, you'd be just fine. I would say a dog bite hurts way more. I have a German Shepherd, trust me, I know. Plenty of times I play with my dog with her toys and she accidentally would get my hand, you know, and that's happened many times. And when she was a puppy, oh man, I can't even tell you how many times I've been bit or been bleeding, and those hurt way more than anything that these little guys can do. So there's that too. So don't be afraid, you're fine. Okay, cool. And the last thing I would say, so you just got your boa and you're handling them and you're maybe a little bit nervous. So one thing you could do is you can use gloves, you know, so say if you're a little bit nervous on getting bit, you can use gloves. People will use like gardener gloves. I never use gloves with my boas. I don't know, my boas are just so chill. I never felt that fear, but I did when I first got my ball python. So my ball python was like a juvenile, so he was bigger. He wasn't like a baby, and he was definitely trying to bite every time I would handle him. So I was using gloves for like the first like week or two, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you gotta use gloves, there's nothing wrong with that. Until you feel comfortable. You can even wear like a jacket, you know, something like that, you know, long sleeve, just so if you know, make your arms mentally so you feel a little bit more comfortable at the end of the game. Like I said, the best idea here is to keep your snakes from feeling stressed out, right? Especially if you're handling them, you don't want them to be, you know, stressed. Just be the warm tree, you know. As you notice, you see me this whole time, I'm not really forcing the snake to do anything. I'm letting her, do her thing. Yeah, I may redirect her because I'm in control, but I'm just being the warm little tree, and she gets to do her little exercise. So it's a great thing. It's a great thing for your snake to bring them out and to handle them, because it helps them with the taming process, getting used to being handled, and it also provides them enrichment. They can go ahead and exercise, right? So it's the best way for them to exercise, feel different textures. So a texture, it's like any surface, like clothing that feels different, skin, those sort of things they like to brush upon. It feels good on their body, so they enjoy that. And yeah, so handling your snake is a great thing. I handle my snakes, I would say, about, how often do I do it? I would say daily, honestly, unless they just ate. So if your snake just ate, obviously you want to wait, not obviously, maybe you didn't know this, but you typically want to wait 24 to 48 hours. I always wait 48 hours just to be on the safe side, because you don't want them to regurgitate their food by being too stressed out, or if you accidentally kind of press upon where the food is digesting at, and that could also make them want to throw up. So I always give my snakes 48 hours just to be safe. And if they're in shed, I'll leave them alone. When they're in shed, I'll let them just kind of completely shed out, and then I'll check them out and handle them. Whenever they're in shed, some people will say like, oh, I handle my snake in shed, it doesn't matter to me. That's your prerogative. Me personally, like I said, the name of the game is just to not make them stressed out. I try to keep my snakes as happy as possible, and that way, like, my handling experiences are always good. I feel like, I feel like there's like a trust, a bond that happens, because I'm not stressing them out. And I think like any, person who handles snakes daily will tell you that, that's a successful way to handle them. So that does it, fam. Thanks for watching, and congratulations if you just got your boa, or you're trying to take that next step and get one. It's awesome. Continue doing your research. It's gonna be a fun adventure. It's been great with all my boas and my ball python, and I can't even tell you. It's so awesome collecting, and I'm happy for you in your adventure. And so if you have any questions, comments, whatever, in the comments below, just let me know, and I'm definitely happy to help you out, give you whatever piece of knowledge I have. Also, feel free to check out my other videos I have. I've done many videos that kind of go over a lot of these things. Whew, my arm hurts. Going over a lot of these topics that we're talking about, and other things too, in more detail. So I know I kind of brushed over a lot of things, but yeah, so if you want, make sure you subscribe to get more content and to get more cool, snake talk stuff, I guess. And so yeah, that does it. So have a great day, great night, wherever you're at. Blkhippiee loves you. Peace.